For my library visit presentation, I decided to take the topic of approachability and how that leads to success with the reference desk. My name is Damon, and of course this is for LAS 6120, Section 3 with Dr. Andulescu on April 16, 2018. I visited a community college for my observations, and here are some stats about that community college. Currently, there are about 13,000 students currently attending the college. That is way down from the past for this particular community college. Back in 2008, they had over 20,000 students, and that was pretty typical for them at the time. The average age of students is now over 30 at this community college, which again is much different than the past, which used to be more around young to mid-20s. The library itself for this community college is located in the second to fourth floor of the technology building, so it's a little bit out of the way to get to. The staff there contains 7 full-time reference librarians, including the head of reference who I interviewed. Because of the changes in their college, they had to change how they handled reference. The sort of questions they were receiving have changed a bit over time as well. So nowadays, a typical reference question would involve lots of either technology or citation questions, like how do you cite an APA or MLA. The desk for the reference desk tended to be much less busy than it was in the past, and the library in general also tended to be much less busy. Now that partially could be because there are fewer students, but also more students could be working from home as well. Additionally, more students were on their personal laptops, even in the library, than in the past, where students would come and use the library computers. And of course, there's the obvious change from using more electronic than physical materials, which is kind of a trend we're seeing these days. So because of these changes and because of fewer people in the library, the staff at community college decided that they needed to make some changes. So in order to get more reference interactions, they decided to do some really obvious things, like having a very welcoming attitude. So when sitting at the reference desk, they would smile, they would look up from their work, even if they were working on something else, and scan the room. If somebody started walking towards them, they'd smile and greet them. And those are all very obvious things that they were probably already doing, but they just wanted to become more aware of that. I found really interesting they had a sign at the desk that stated in big, bold letters, "Please interrupt me," so that students would feel more comfortable, even if the reference librarian was looking down at their computer, to come up and interrupt them and ask them a question. They also greatly increased the amount of roving reference they did, so they would wander around the library. And actually, in my experience watching them, when they were roving around, that's when a majority of the reference questions actually arose. So when I observed some reference interviews, I saw a basic process they took. And so, for an example, one day I was in, and a student was asking for help finding resources for their paper, and they needed some scholarly academic articles to use in their paper for their English 101 class. And so the librarian started first by asking some open-ended questions to discover what the project was, what sort of things they were looking for. And then they moved to more closed questions such as which search terms have you tried and which databases have you tried to see what the student already has done. They then use that information to teach the student how to search better themselves. They brainstormed new search terms to search and find better articles, and ultimately had success with that student. After the reference interview, the reference librarian would go back to their desk and log the interaction on the computer. This log would have the date and time of the interaction, the location of the interaction, the type of question that was asked, and the class it was for if the student provided that information. This way they were able to track the data so that they could better serve the students and the faculty in the future. For example, if they saw a lot of questions coming from an English 101 class, they would then set up liaisons with those classes to go and visit them and teach them some reference skills. As you can see, having approachability in the library led to some really great reference interactions and helped to increase numbers. Looking at the stats, even though the student body has died down, since they buckled down on increasing approachability, they saw a much greater turnabout in reference interviews. Thank you for listening and have a great day.